Welcome or welcome back to the Awkward Chronicles. My name is Larissa and today we are doing a Taylor Swift Eras book tag. Linked the blog post that I found for this, and it's February. Taylor Swift is on all our minds all the time. This has been a month for her. She is everywhere all at once doing all the things. And I did a Lover book tag last February, so I figured we should just do an Eras one. Yeah, like I said, I found a blog post that had some really great book tags with each of the albums. The only one they didn't have was Midnights. I think that blog post was published before Midnights came out, so I added my own Midnight. The book tag questions are in the description box below as well, in case you want to follow along and write out your Taylor Swift Eras book stuff. So we're gonna go through all of the albums. I kept it to about a couple per era, usually it's just one. My only stipulation, my rules for this was it could not be part of a series because it would just be ACOTAR, and I'm so sorry for that. So it has to be a standalone book or an interconnected standalone. And then I could not repeat any other books from here. So there are no repeats. It is all standalone books or some interconnected. So hopefully you got your friendship bracelets ready. You got that initial around your neck. You are bejeweled. You are ready to participate or just listen to me and agree or not. Starting from the beginning. Her debut album, Taylor Swift. And the prompt for this is an author's debut book. The books that I chose for this are The Love Hypothesis by Ellie Hazelwood. This was her debut novel, and for it to be a debut novel, I had such a great time reading this. I read this multiple times and I loved it every time. As soon as I finished reading it, I reread it again. It was a book that I just had so much fun with. In case you were unaware of what The Love Hypothesis is, this is about Olive and Adam. Olive is a grad student in a STEM program. She is doing a lot of research. It's her first year in this grad program and it's really intense, really hard. And it goes through academia as well as some political stuff that happens with academia. And Adam is one of the professors. She is not under Adam in his cohort or anything. In order for her friend to go out with Olive's not even ex, they went on a few dates. Olive was like, oh no, I have a boyfriend, it's completely fine, we're completely over it. And she ends up seeing her friend and ends up kissing Adam in the hallway. Then it sparks a bunch of like rumors, and they both benefit from being in this relationship. So it's fake dating as well as just stress of being in school and grad school. It is quirky, it is fun, grumpy sunshine as well. Very improbable things happen in here, but it's a good time nonetheless. Kind of serious side is Conversations with Friends by Sally Rooney. I did not realize that this book came out before Normal People. I thought Normal People was her debut, but apparently Normal People just blew up faster than Conversation with Friends. Very tricky relationships that Frances finds herself in. Frances and her ex, Bobby, they're still best friends. Bobby ends up meeting this photographer, female. They get really close and start spending time together, and Frances is linked up, and then the photographer, her husband Nick, and Frances end up becoming very close. It is very messy. It is very like, what is going on? It's very complicated. Sally Rooney has kind of a pretentious writing style. It's very mundane and kind of slow, but it's a really great character study, and especially with the complications that ensue between these four people. Then Fearless, a book that scared you. I don't really read a lot of scary books, but I was very much creeped out by The Silent Patient by Alex Michaelides. This is about a woman, Alicia. She ends up shooting her husband like 7 times in the face. Oh, 5 times. Ooh. Big difference. And then she never speaks another word. She is in a psychiatric hospital. Theo is a criminal psychotherapist who believes that he can get Alicia to talk. Things go on. I was very creeped out reading this. And when I did read it, I was kind of home alone at that time when I was up at my parents'. And that was very creepy and I did not enjoy that. This is one of my favorite thrillers. I absolutely love this book. The twist really got me. And I'm very excited to read his latest book, The Fury. Speak Now. A book with great dialogue. Happy Place with Emily Henry. I could have chosen any Emily Henry book. She is such a master at dialogue, at banter. I love the banter between all of her characters, and I love the inner dialogue that goes on, and just The narration of each of her stories is just so well done, and I have never really felt more seen with any other author. The things that she writes about are just so relatable, and the things that people think and just the feelings that happen. Oh, really great dynamics between friendships and how they grow and change and need to change if you want it to still be close. And this is a group of friends that go up to a lake house in Maine every year, and they spend a great time up there. However, everybody is kind of holding in a lot of things and they're not sure how to communicate that. And this is a group of friends from college. Harriet and Wynne were engaged, and then they broke off their engagement and no one knows about it, and they both are at this lake house and have to pretend to still be engaged. Such a great read. You get flashbacks of them in college and seeing how their friend group develops, and then you get the here and now and like what is going on and why everybody is struggling. Feels like they're drifting apart. And I feel like that speaks a lot to adulthood as well as like adult friendships. It is more effort to have adult friends because you are not in the same place at the same time. You are spread out throughout the country or in different cities now, and it is a lot more maintenance to remain close to your friends. It takes a lot of communication and effort. This book made me sob. Red, a book with red on the cover or in the title. We're just gonna go with Abby Jimenez, yours truly. Okay, I do have other options on my shelves, but we're going with this one because it is fantastic. Interconnected standalone with Part of Your World. This is Dr. Brianna Ortiz, Dr. Jacob Maddox, they're both doctors at the same hospital. Dr. Jacob, well, I'm just gonna call him Jacob. Jacob ends up getting transferred to Brianna's hospital. And they don't have the best first impression, but letters are written. I loved that they write each other letters. They grow into this friendship and you can tell that they like each other. It is kind of like a fake dating scenario too. And Jacob deals a lot with anxiety and social anxiety, but he is a really great doctor and is really great and calm in those situations. However, in real life situations, he struggles with crowds and with a bunch of people in commotion, and Brianna, she understands that and never tries to change that out of him. She is very accepting and knows exactly what to say to help him in those situations, and I just thought it was very, very lovely. And just the growth that Brianna herself goes through. 1989, a book published in the year you were born in. I was born in 1992. 3 books that one is the only book that I own, but the other 2 I'll say first. The Rainbow Fish. I loved that book as a kid. I would read that all the time. Also just like a really heartbreaking story now that I look back at it. A Secret History. I have not read A Secret History, but I know it's a lot of people's favorite books. I would like to read it someday, maybe this fall. It's kind of a satire. I really didn't think it came out in 92 though. That's wild to me. And then the only book that I do own on my shelves is Boundaries, and it's by Dr. Henry Cloud and Dr. John Townsend. I have not read this, but apparently it talks about boundaries. When to say yes, when to say no, to take control of your life. My boss actually recommended this book to me. She reads a lot of nonfiction, and I said, that sounds like something I should read. So there it sits on my shelf. Reputation, a book that lived up to its hype, and it's very rep-coded, my choice. And I know I go on about this, the Mindfuck series, and I know I said I wasn't gonna do a series, but look, all 5 books are in here. It's one book. It doesn't matter. I read it like I was reading one book because there are 5 different books total in this, but I could not stop reading this, and because it is physically bound into one book, therefore it is one book, regardless if it says the Mindfuck series. This is fantastic. I go on and on about it. This is about Lana. She is a serial killer. She has very good reasons as to why she is a serial killer, but the FBI is on her case trying to track her down and figure out what the heck is going on. But Logan is the FBI agent especially assigned to her case, and they end up in like a chance encounter and end up falling in love. Obviously Lana knows that he is tracking her, or like trying to uncover her, but they end up with just like a cute little romantic espionage, and oh, it's so good. It's so freaking good. I cannot wait to reread this and again tab the heck out of it. Lana is just like a mastermind. Check trigger warnings before proceeding because it is very graphic, especially the main thing, the main drive of Lana. It is a very, very graphic scene. Highly recommend though. Lover, a favorite romance or book with a romantic subplot. I love People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. I know this is a lot of people's least favorite of her books. The UK, it's also You and Me on Vacation. I don't know why they need to do that. I don't know why Harry Potter switched the Sorcerer's Stone from like the Philosopher's Stone. People could figure it out. People We Meet on Vacation by Emily Henry. This is a friends to lovers romance, and I love a friends to lovers romance. And this is with Poppy and Alex, and Poppy is she works for a travel magazine. She used to have a blog where she would do like traveling on a budget, and Alex and her would go on a vacation every year, and it would be like their friend thing, and that's the one thing that they could always count on. There was a falling out 2 years prior, and Poppy has been reevaluating her life and her job and everything, and she just feels like she's missing something. She has really not spoken to Alex, and Alex has not really spoken to her. She wants to make one final attempt to rekindle hers and Alex's friendship, so she asks him to go on one last trip to see if they can be friends again. And I love that we get the flashbacks from their vacations past, and to see, because they met in college, their freshman year of college, and sparked an unlikely friendship between the two. Poppy is very like eccentric and loud and bubbly, and Alex is very shy and quiet and very organized. They are very much polar opposites, and I love like an opposites attract / a friends to lovers romance. I just love this book so much, and I think it is underappreciated. I always trend towards a friends to lovers over an enemies to lovers, so I understand why people prefer beach read and book lovers. And then the next one is Marriage for One by Ella Mays. Grumpy Sunshine, about Jack and Rose. Rose, her uncle left her the lease of this thing where she was gonna start her coffee shop. However, the stipulation was that the apartment, or whatever it was, the storefront, went to her husband. Turns out she just broke off the engagement with her fiance, and then Jack is the lawyer that is helping on the case, and he's like, hey, let's get married, and then you can do this, and it'll benefit us both. Marriage of Convenience and Grumpy Sunshine, but the acts of service taking place in this book is phenomenal. I love this book. It is a chunky one. I read it on my Kindle because it is available on Kindle Unlimited, and I flew through that. This man is so hot. I love that he is on this cover. This is probably the only cover that I like having a real person on there. Wouldn't we make a cute couple? Me and Jack here. Love you, babe. Ooh. Okay, Folklore. This is my favorite Taylor Swift album. I love Folklore. I am a folklore girly, and this is a fairy tale, folktale, or myth retelling. And I have two for this, and the first is Kaiki by Vaishnavi Patel. Sorry if I pronounce it incorrectly. So I'm very much into Greek mythology. That is the main mythology that I trend towards. Also some Norse mythology, but this is a Hindu mythology, and I found it very fascinating. So Kaiki is kind of a princess of Kakaya. Then she ends up marrying this other guy who also has two other wives. So it's a polygamy relationship too, which was wild, and just the other two wives and how they raise their children is so fascinating, and it goes on. One of the children be the downfall of society, and all the twists and turns. It was very good. I highly recommend audiobook narration just because a lot of the names are very similar. As I said, Kaiki and Kakaya. I had a hard time figuring out what was what, like the names. They're very similar. Thankfully, the author does include a major character list, and really loved like a different mythology that I had never read before. And then this one is East by Edith Patel. First of all, I know it looks like I'm breaking the rules because there's West back there by her as well, and they are part of the series, but that was published a couple years ago. When I first read this book, it was a standalone. That was it. It was called the East back then. It is now called North. And I know I've talked about this in previous books, but I really, really do love this one. Now it is called North, but I have the original book, which was East at the time. And this is also regarding her name is Rose. So her mother very much, or there's like some mythology about the direction that the baby is born. North children are like wanderers and explorers, and her mother did not want a North child. She was unsure when Rose was born as to which way she was actually birthed, and her father was like, oh, I think it was north, and her mother's like, no, nope, it was definitely east. Rose never fit into like the characteristics of an Eastbourne child. She was always wandering around, exploring, and getting into trouble. One thing that Rose does very well is she loves to weave, and it is so cool, the stuff that she weaves. It's awesome. And it just made me feel really happy that I'm a knitter, but like I do not make anything compared to what Rose makes. This takes inspiration from mythology, from Greek mythology and Norse mythology primarily. It is kind of a Psyche and Eros retelling, so a Beauty and the Beast retelling, because that's what Beauty and the Beast is based off of. But there are other mythologies woven in throughout. I think it is a very great YA intro to kind of a mythology-based book. I would love to reread this one day, see if I still like it now, because I read it when I was a youth and I loved it, and I've reread it many times since then, but it'd be nice to do a reread of that. Or Evermore, a book you could read for the rest of your life. The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. This is definitely my favorite book, or definitely in the top two of my favorite books, because I love this book. This is following Achilles and Patroclus. It's a coming of age story, also following along with the Trojan War, the parts that Achilles has played into it and his destiny, and it will tear your heart out and stomp on it. And I loved it. It was so good. I love Greek mythology, so this was good. I will say it does get a little bit slower, but I enjoyed that as well. And it's not super difficult to follow. I definitely have a lot of knowledge of Greek mythology, so I was able to be like, oh, that's the god of blah blah, that's the goddess of there. But that's not very necessary. It is helpful, but not necessary in this book. I feel like it is very accessible to beginner or non-mythology people. Alright, so Midnights, like I said at the beginning, was not in this book tag, so I added it. I also think this might be my second favorite album. Folklore is definitely still number one. Midnights, I feel like I listened to probably the most. For this prompt is a book you couldn't put down. The Fake Out by Stephanie Archer. This is part of an interconnected standalone. Behind the Net was the first book in the interconnected standalone series, and it's part of the Vancouver Storm series. And I know I've talked about this so much, but I absolutely freaking love it. I could not put this down. I love our main character. This is very open door spicy too. It is a hockey romance, and it is dual POV. It's just wonderful. Fake dating as well, but Rory is definitely so down bad for Hazel the whole time. I love Rory. You know, there's like golden retriever energy, but I feel like Rory has the German Shepherd energy, where it's like very dominant, but just goofy lovable, and I just love it so much. So Rory is the captain of the Vancouver Storms. He is just newly appointed captain. He is struggling with some things. He also just really has, like I said, a big huge crush on Hazel, who Hazel and him used to go to high school together, and Hazel was his tutor for a class. And it doesn't really linger on that fact of their past. It just like brings up that they used to know each other and that she used to be his tutor. Hazel is a physiotherapist for the Vancouver Storms, and her ex-boyfriend, who is a piece of trash, just got traded to the team, and she was assigned as his physiotherapist. Her ex is like, I know you requested me, and she's like, excuse me? No, she thought he was going to apologize, and he thinks that she's still really hung up on him. And again, he's disgusting and we hate him. And she goes, you do know Rory and I are together. And Rory, now knowing, being filled in the loop, he's like, oh yeah, baby. And he's taking full advantage of it. And I love it so much. And just the goofy stuff that they get up to. And Rory just... Rory is such a goofy guy, and I love him so much. This book definitely kept me up all night. Not all night. I really, if I could stay awake past 9 o'clock on a consistent basis, I would have finished this in a night. I love this book. If you really just want a fun series, I love a hockey romance. I love a sports romance. So this was definitely up my alley. I cannot wait for the rest of the series to come out. And because Blondie never sleeps, she has graced us with the upcoming release of her new album, TS11, The Tortured Poets Department. Whew, I said it correctly. Oh, thank goodness. It is getting into my brain. I kept calling it the Dead Poets Society. We have no idea what's going to be on that, but the track list looks unhinged and I'm so excited for it. So for this prompt, let's go with some poetry for the Tortured Poets Department, where she is the chairman. And I have only one poetry book in my entire collection. I don't really gear towards poetry, but I really loved this poetry collection, and it is Atticus by The Truth About Magic poem. It's very much going to be a breakup album. It's looking like it. Let's just do a little reading. This was in the section Darkness. You stole pieces of me and all the love I gave you and never got back. Keep it now, it is my gift to you, for you will not get more. And that, my love, is my gift to me. I love it, and I love that there's different fonts in here. There's pictures and illustrations, and it is a very beautiful poetry book. Look at that cover. Stunning. The Tortured Poets Department. It's gonna be fire, like all her other albums. Most anticipated song on there is But Daddy, I Love Him. That is the end of the eras. Let me know if you have any other books that would fit the prompts in the comments below. I would love to know what your thoughts are. And you don't have to follow my guidelines. You can definitely repeat books and do series. And if you would like to stick around on the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Hang out with me for a while for any other book related content, as well as like this video. If you love Taylor Swift, because you should. Be a pathological people pleaser. And with that being said, respect others, respect yourself, and do something amazing with your day. Thanks, bye!